Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So welcome to our webinar today, celebrating World Social Work Day. And today we gather to celebrate the invaluable contribution of social workers around the globe and explore the theme this year, Shared Future for Transformative Change. So I'm Nayanatara and I'm a fresh graduate from National Institute of Social Development, Sri Lanka School of Social Work. And I'm so honored to be your moderator for this insightful discussion today. So without taking much time, I would like to invite Ms. Shamini Attanayaka, the President of Sri Lanka Association of Professional Social Workers, to deliver the welcome speech for today's discussion. Over to you, Madam.
Thank you, Ms. Nayanatara. Very good evening, all of you. Today is a very special day, organized webinar discussion celebrating World Social Work Day. Then you know, International Social Work Day is every year, March 3rd week, Tuesday. This year, March 19th is the International Social Work Day. And according to that, Sri Lanka Association of Professional Social Workers has organized this webinar discussions today. Then is the very special discussions today. We invited Professor Venkat Rao Pulla, the warmly welcome sir today's special speaker, world-renowned speaker, Professor Venkat Rao Pulla, James Cook University, Australia, and founding professor, Brisbane Institute of Strength-Based Practice. I have known him well since 2016 till now.
He has 2006.
2006 till now.
Yeah.
He has
because
worked very
you making me 2016 means you're making me and yourself very young. We are quite old.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Then he has worked very closely with Sri Lanka Social Work Education and National Institute of Social Development also. We have very closely worked with him, developed the social work education in Sri Lanka. Then we trained our faculty members of the National Institute of Social Development in strength-based practice and social work also. I am very much appreciate also taking part of today discussions. He is no any hesitation that directly he involved the Sri Lankan social work programs also. I am very much happy, sir. Today you discuss with us a special topic of the today, the social transformation, responsibility in a post-COVID world, the role of social work. Then warmly welcome Dr. Ravindra Vitanachi, the Director General in NISD, and all directors, academic staff, and all social work students of the NISD. And warmly welcome Association of Social Work, Professional Social Work Consultant, Mr. Anavira, and former President of the association. Warmly welcome, sir, participation today program, and our executive committee members and all members of the Sri Lanka Professional Social Work Association. Warmly welcome all of you. Then warmly welcome all foreign participants for the of the different countries, the Australia, India, and Bangladesh. Other countries also representative. All of you are warmly welcome. Then warmly welcome participants of the all universities, academic staff and students in Sri Lanka, and warmly welcome all the distinguished guests who participates this webinar discussions. Once again, I warmly welcome all of you participate this special discussions today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, madam, and thank you so much for delivering such a wonderful welcome speech and also organizing this amazing event today. And next, I would like to invite Ms. Chatu Gunsingha, lecturer at Department of Pediatric, the Faculty of Medicine, University of Colombo, Sri Lanka, to extend warm welcome to today's esteemed guest speaker, Professor Venkat Rao Pulla. to our discussion. So over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Nayanthara. Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to introduce and welcome our well-known speaker for today's discussion, Prof. Venkat Pulla. So I went through the website in finding about you, and you have a really rich profile, and it was really difficult for me to pointing out what to talk on today. So I just pointed out a few out of all those. Professor Venkat Pulla is an Indian-born Australian, contributing himself as an associated professor to the Department of Social Work, James Cook University, Australia, and the founder of the Brisbane Institute of Strength-Based Practice. Simply, he is a social work educator. He has numerously contributed in developing social work curriculum, teaching and practice in Australia. This well-known social worker is an academician and has extended his work to SARC nation right from the beginning. And a genuine friend, as Ms. Shamini said, I noted that he is a genuine friend of Sri Lankan body of social work as well. I'm very much honored in inviting you to continue the discussion today, sir. And over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Chatu. And I can also see a number of old friends from different parts of the world and different friends. And Shamini can easily identify Professor Keshav Walke all the way from Nagpur, who has collaborated with you
Yes.
many more times. We've got Australian faculty. We've also got a few people, either joined or will be joining from other parts of the world. Anyway, thank you for actually making this on Zoom. First of all, I'm very, very grateful to your faculty and particularly my association with you guys has been always warm, friendly, and rich. And my story of Sri Lanka is not something which is 2006. That's actually when I was 16 years old. That is when I actually came. And in fact, much, much later also, I've started coming there. I came from India there and, won one of those inter-university elocution or debate competitions. And now, you can imagine so many years ago. So I'm not sure whether it's a debate or an elocution, but certainly I came there. And we were all sent by the Rotary Club, and I stayed in Colombo, in Gale, and that beautiful area, the sea facing. And was also, been to Jaffna, been to Nuvarelia, Negombo, and all the places, and the best and the worst, and everything else I've had managed to see. Today, we have anchored ourselves in social work. We are in social work, and we are interested in looking at the World Social Work Day. And I've had the privilege of talking to you guys more recently in a conference as to how do we, make ourselves more coping, more better resilient. And I think it was well received some time back. There was a recording that was used. So I actually, when Shamini asked me to speak on this, and then Shamini told me that she's actually succeeded, my good friend Ranavira in the presidency of the Association of Social Workers. Without these two people, the social work would not have ever been on the roadmap of social work in Sri Lanka. They struggle, they work within the constraints of bureaucracy, and I'm quite sure the new Director General who might be sitting somewhere there would know for himself that obviously it's not a bed of roses to run social work course, which in bits and pieces is imported, in bits and pieces is still very colonial, smells like that. And then we impose that with our Buddhist tradition, with the Hindu traditions, with the Tamil traditions, and whatever that we have got in our society in Sri Lanka, and still struggle to build, a social welfare framework in a society which is developing and has had much more recently, huge economic calamities for whatever it is. We all have something nice to talk about, and there is also something not so nice to talk about our SAARC countries. Yeah. So we have good thing, we have good people. We have bad things, we've got corruption. We've got bad things. Sometimes we also have politicians who obviously have a higher and a larger appetite than what the commoners can have. And the greed over need is something that obviously challenges all of us. And social work is one of those, stalwart professions which doesn't know, do I take a step forward or do I take 2 steps backward? Yeah. In the whole process, dear students, faculty, today I want to rededicate all of you towards the conceptualization of social work as it is, and also to what we would otherwise call the World Social Work Day. God knows when. I don't. If I have to trace it out, I would find out when it was started off and why it was started. But certainly, the smell of World Social Work Day is all about solidarity. Now, where is this solidarity word really? And is the solidarity of social work profession, solidarity with the clients with which we work, with whom we work, the communities with which we work, or the solidarity of Western social work with the Eastern or Southern social work, or the old obviously the Western orientation that we do have, and what is it that they want to work with. Certainly, Sri Lanka has also been a guinea pig in all of this. Since 2006, we have all been struggling, and in a not so proactive way, at the same time reasonably active, reasonably proactive way, I would say, not proactive, yeah, proactive. The struggle has always been, how do we get our own staff, do we get their PhDs? How do we get our, fellows get their degrees? Some of them have gone abroad, did something, came back, and, essentially answer within the realms. We also have a kind of a view within the SAARC countries. I wouldn't call it SAARC myopism, but it is a myopia. The expectation that the state has to look after it, the welfare of the people. I think I learned over a period of time, state looks after politicians rather than welfare of the people more than anything else. So it there are schemes, they come out, don't misunderstand me. State does have some welfare schemes and things like that, but they are never the access of state schemes is such that they open up, and they are expected to go to the most vulnerable people, but they just generally do not really go all the way there. And also the level of awareness with the people who are vulnerable is also so less that we can't manage to do everything with the state resources. Then comes this drama of non-governmental agencies. I call it a drama because, you can call it anything else. International agencies, receiving foreign donations and trying to understand them and work with them in a way in which they want us to work. So in other words, money doesn't come just like that. It comes with dictations. They tell you do this, compliance reporting and all of that. That is another bizarre thing. How to organize a community is also told. How to do group work is told. How to deal with disability is also told. And as if, there is something that they have invented, that they've invented a rocket or something or the other. So that is something that is a disease that comes with money. Money given by Western world obviously comes with a Western prescription, and that doesn't suit us anyway. But at the end of the day, we have succumbed to that and we learned lessons. The third world has started learning lessons. The third world started learning its own lessons much more so after COVID-19. Why do I make COVID-19 such an important thing? Not because in the last 2 years or 2.5 years, I've contributed quite a lot on COVID, and I've instilled and mentored, probably over dozens of scholars throughout the world who have written books and everything else, and and have made a reasonable amount of citations for themselves. It is for me to recall and also recall with you all guys in terms of, is it time to exit the COVID era? Okay, so which means 2 years or 2.5 years that we have all gone through. Is it time enough for us to get out of it? On the other hand, what seems to be happening? I think I still see that there are some new wild animal-oriented, lab animal-oriented diseases that are still spreading. We are still expecting some more, zootonic spillovers. In other words, they are, whether they come out of the lab by themselves or they are deliberately planned, hatched somewhere and released. Why do people release that? Because disease has to be controlled. How do you control disease? You need a medicine for it. How do you make that medicine? You need a vaccine. And where do you make the vaccine from? You make the vaccine from the disease itself. So you start testing it on the animals first, and then after animals, on the human beings. In human beings, you take the lesser human beings. Unfortunately, the world is such that there seem to be the divisions in the world, the first world, the second world, the third world, all those differences we have already seen. We no longer use the word first, second world and things like that, but certainly we use the word developing countries and the developed countries. So what have you noticed? By 2021, October, if my raw data goes well, I think about 56% of the Western world received first vaccines. By 2020 November, 21 November, only less than 3% of the third world or the poor countries received their vaccine. You can see that inequality there itself. Who is trying to bluff us that they are our friends? I don't think we have friends. The blacks didn't have friends. The browns didn't have friends. The Africans didn't have friends. Indians didn't have friends. Sri Lankans didn't have friends. But at least hopefully, we all realize that there is a need for us to be united in our struggles and united in our battles. So I'm not talking so much about, unite all these people and march. Where do you march? You can't march, into some other country and say, oh, all of that is my money. Nobody is going to give you back. Colonization was there for 400 years or so. We have all been victims of that. That doesn't mean India will get back its Kohinoor or Sri Lanka will get back all its beautiful tea plantation royalties. It'll continue. All of us, East India Company, West India Company, West Africa, all of that will continue. Nonetheless, it is our magnanimity, it's our generosity, it is our some imbalanced genetic, possibly gratitude for whatever learning that we have had due to Western education, whatever it is. We seem to be extremely magnanimous and extremely pardoning as far as the West is concerned. I know I make provocative statements, and I make provocative statements because, number one, what is the use of being one who has the knowledge? So you do provoke. You need to get people to critically look at the whole world. So critically looking at the world today, to me, that what has occurred before 2021 will occur again is my first statement. Number two, that COVID-19 has exposed us already to the existing fault lines and vulnerabilities in the world. We have already had the vulnerabilities. We knew the poorer people. There are lots of poor people in our poor countries. We haven't had a track record of taking care of all the welfare measures. We can never become welfare-oriented societies because welfare is what? It comes from capital. It comes from a capitalist orientation when there is a good reserve. That model, which is in the West, where they call themselves welfare societies, obviously have a huge capital from which a certain amount of welfare is given to those who cannot reach that capital. So in other words, access and equity in the Western countries is provided with that sort of an orientation. Now, how do we go about doing that? In our societies where we seem to be having an orientation towards the rich become richer, the poor obviously get poorer. We have the usual election politics, we have other dynamics in our society. Becomes very, very difficult. Going back to that one single statistic that I talked earlier on, that a remarkable achievement of Mr. Bill Gates has been that he managed to see at one point of time over 46% of the world, which world? The rich world, received one vaccine. But he also saw just about over 2% of the rest of the world, that is the poor countries, received the vaccines. He lamented, saying, I wish the West was generous. I wish the West did not keep up the rest of the stock and pile them up for their booster stocks. But that's West. And that's what social work ethics and Western social work ethics also teach us. What do they teach you? It's exactly like when you go into a plane. What does the air hostess tell you? When oxygen comes down, put your mask before you put a mask to your little child, because you're very likely to collapse first, then possibly, the chances are different as far as the child is concerned. So you got to take care of yourself. That ethic, that fiber, culturally, when I teach ethics in social work, I taught in India, I taught here, and I still teach sometimes in India, and of course in Sri Lanka and other places. A motherly instinct of our societies does not allow us to put the oxygen mask for us. We might do it, but immediately take the mask and put it to the child. I don't know why we do it, but we do it. We take care of the kith and kin, we take care of the little ones before we take care of ourselves. The virtuous are still in those rich cultures. The virtuous are still in those native cultures, which have not been totally colonized. So that's one lesson that we learn. Now, unfortunately, structural inequalities got further exposed. These structural inequalities, which we already had in our world, caste, religion, whatever those words that we've had, poor people, rich people, they got further exposed. But there were unity factors too. When it came to death, the rich died, the poor died. The rich did not have access to pyres, the rich did not have access to proper funerals. The poor did not have access to proper funerals. Even in the rich world, like in America, you've seen lorry loads, truckloads of people, unnamed people or named people, were just dumped into big, shallow areas and buried. So death became a leveler in the whole process. What did we learn from that in COVID-19? How do we bring the world solidarity? I doubt whether we will ever have a world solidarity. World solidarity means checking up inside. When people do diabetes check, they put a pin and a little bit of blood comes out and they check blood sugar. But for somebody who doesn't know that the blood sugar is being checked, first thing that you notice is red blood. It's the same in black. It's the same in brown people. It's the same in white people. But humanity is not one. Humanity is colored. Humanity is ethnic. Humanity is different. Humanity is diverse. And so therefore, what is happening is we are asked, we have had a solo flight of our own in our countries. A doubt has been created in our countries that our science is bad. Our system is bad. Some of us from our countries go abroad, come back and say, everything in New York is so great. Everything in Australia is so great. People come and do all kinds of jobs here, but they won't be interested in doing the same kind of jobs back home. They do toilet cleaning here, but they won't like to participate in public health in our own countries. They would be sanitary workers in West, but they would not like to be sanitary workers in our own countries. So the disparity is something that we need to understand. COVID-19 has further exposed the disparity. COVID-19 has actually even created beyond caste jobs in those kind of areas. My good friend Keshav Walke, who is listening to some part of this story, professor in Nagpur, has had a personal journey altogether during that time, trying to see how best society can do beyond what the government can do. Governments, systems, international people, pharmaceutical companies, the rich and everybody else became helpless. To such an extent, they were interested in helping themselves too. Now, where are we today? We talk about good preparedness. Disaster preparedness is one of the themes that comes out after COVID-19. This is no minor disaster for which there can be preparation. If tomorrow some other thing will come up, something else will come up, how do you keep it? So what are you doing? The same Bill Gates says, hey, I can't keep the pharmaceutical companies without business. So therefore, what am I going to do? Give them more experiments. So the research is on. More zootonic viruses will be born. More testing will be done. More human guinea pigs will be found. More third world countries will be found unless we talk about a level of self-reliance, getting up, open our eyes. The very books that we read on critical social work, hey, use them. Read it, become smart, and see how to use that information. So that's the second lesson in our transformation of our social world for the future. COVID-19 woke us up to our reality that our world was unequal. We had some structural inequalities we need to fulfill. We can take care of them. We need some resources. And on top of it, all the changes very, very quickly are coming without even us trying to understand. There's a climate change bogey which comes up and tries to tell you, do this, do that. You need electrical cars. Do we? I don't know. I question that. Somebody says, no, electricity is cheap. Is it? How long will it be cheap? Where do you get that from? Anything that you do, where is it coming from? Who is it giving you? What is it replacing? This is very, very important. Is it native? Is it cultural? You have a rich country. Rich not so much in money. The values. The most important values. You have Buddhism on one end, Hinduism on the other end, a combination of all these things. Of course, you've had enough of domestic strife, struggle, war, all of that. Slowly, it's a nation in healing. It's a nation with a perpetual trauma on both ends. But engulfed with those realities, if you are threatened with something else which is foreign, for God's sake, what will happen? Then you have internal enemies too. That also needs to be settled down. Enemies in terms of greed is a cultural attribute too. You're not greedy. I don't know why you are not greedy. Why am I not greedy? I didn't ask NISD, hey, how much are you giving me? $200 for today's lecture? I'm worth it more than the $1,000. But I love NISD. I love my old friends. I have respect for them. So therefore, this doesn't matter in the scheme of things. Why are we wired like this? Why are we not wiring other people like us? That's all is the most important thing. That's the third lesson. The third lesson is rewire all our people to be generous, to be pardoning, to have a righteous living, to be in a position to share what they have. That's what COVID-19 taught us. And that will bring social transformation. Not when the government comes and says, I'm going to put a road. Yeah, you need to put a road. Yeah, that's good. But don't ask me for taxes. I'll pay when I can. Until then, I'll manage what I need to manage. We have managed. We have been silent countries. And in that silence is our energy. So transformation. During COVID-19, we also learned something about. We lost our faith in science. I have no faith anymore in science. Doesn't mean, am I COVID-19? Did I take vaccination? Yes, I took once. Not 7, not 17. I'm not a dog or something that is going to be continuously poked in. I just took once. Because I keep going to India. I have got a mother who's in her 90s. So I need to visit her. So therefore, I got a jab. But a right to vaccine or not to have a vaccine is also a right. But not to allow and to deprive a whole lot of population, the third world, is a sad thing. And in what way can I expect that there will be solidarity? What solidarity are we talking about? Lip sympathy, writing papers, coming to Sri Lanka and writing about social work education in Sri Lanka, what it needs. How do you know what it needs? You came for 3 days, you conducted an interview with people, and then you say these are the books that they need to follow. Okay, so how do they go about doing it? It's not easy. The struggle is there. For everything, there's a model, and the model is, what am I going to get? The Western model will always see, what am I going to get if I invest? The Western idea is an investment for the future. The Eastern idea is giving into the future. I want you to take that in a philosophical way. You have shown it. You have struggled very hard last 1 year. Terrible struggle. I know many of you have not had salaries. I know many of you have had half salaries. I also know many of us have had difficulties, and the government said, you do one thing, get out of the country, get a scholarship, go somewhere and study if you want. Study leave was granted to everybody else. Yeah, these kind of things have happened. So access on one end, equity on the other end, the challenge within ourselves, the diversity, and over a period of time, lack of any inclusive policies that we are also part of humanity is a major challenge for the world. Americans treat America more than Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is part of, they might want to put a fleet there, American fleet there, for strategic reason to fight Russia, but nothing more than that. They can keep Ukraine and Russia and everything else. Meaningless things continue. Diversions continue. Entertainment continues. Do I need that entertainment in my country is something that you need to ask. So, friends, we have taken some time. I want you to take the next 10 minutes if you have got any questions, and we will raise it from there. Okay, has Vasudevan Varta Gauri has also returned back to Sri Lanka, or she's listening to me from Tata Institute. That's okay. So I'm open to your discussion.
Thank you,
From both
Dr. Sir. So now it's time for the Q&A session. So if you have any question, please feel free to raise your hand and ask. So floor is over to you now.
Dr. Venkat, glad to see you. I have a little bit of concern about this COVID-19, what has happened. In a way, I'm thinking that this COVID epidemic gave us a message that to the whole world that every body, human being, should be treated equally. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. They did. They gave you the message. I know you will treat. You've always treated every Western person who has come to your house. You have fed them food. You have fed them NISD. You actually traveled with them in your own car and in your own scooters and everything else. You do that. But
Yes, we do
the
that.
others haven't. Yeah, the others don't. The basic reality, I'm not wanting to poison anybody. I want you all, and I want myself to become self-reliant. We see this even in our own world here. The apartheid, which started off, that concept of apartheid, the South Africa and other places, the blacks in America and everything else. There is a reason for all of that. Genuine people who have genuine sympathy, maybe in the social work profession, even in the West. Okay. Tomorrow, one of my colleagues is talking in Brisbane, Professor Leslie Chenoweth, Ranavira and others will remember her. From 2006 onward, she's been a friend of ours in Brisbane Institute. But what's the power? The power of social work is limited because we are still limited people. India has some 525 schools of social work, but still the power of social work is limited because human rights on one end, access of services to the other, expectations that the government alone should do it, the third one. We got our wiring wrong. I am of the opinion it is not the government that has to do social welfare. It can help you to regulate. It is our body. To an extent, I believe in that privatization of education, facilities, making up things which are useful in such a way that we are able to generate. There is a need in the client, there is a service, and there is a person who can provide that service. That service need not be costed by the government. The service can be costed by the client. In other words, a kind of a private mode. Doesn't matter how big, how small it is. Maybe social work will become less attractive initially for a little while when there are no more government jobs. But what government jobs can you create? You create one welfare officer's position. You give him 500 people to look after welfare, or you give the district welfare officer. He'll have 5,000 people to look after. Whose welfare he will look after? He'll look after his own welfare. Sign and go. So those are the things. So I don't believe that COVID-19, although has made us believe that we are one humanity, you know politically well who was your friend in need. Which countries have been your friends? Which countries are still exploiting you, you know? You have an American model, you have a Chinese model, and you have maybe somebody else's model in all of these kind of things. And that is something which we are not teaching in social work. The macroeconomic issues must be discussed. You don't become leftist by discussing. You don't become rightist by discussing right things or leftist. It is important boys and girls know what is the impact of all these things. These textbooks theories they will learn how to do counseling, how to do group work, how to do community organization. That they can easily learn. Yeah. Thank you for raising, Ranavira.
Yeah, thanks.
Any further questions?
Yeah, I have very small clarification
Sure, Shamini.
with Professor Venkat. Then we have experience in COVID-19 period in Sri Lanka. At that time, the people's behavior also changed because of the health crisis situation. It's a good things of the behavior changes and good way, but people are not maintaining it up to now. This is a little bit problem. Then as a social worker, we need to think it.
Yeah, it's human nature. You know, when you have crisis, there is a discipline. Once the crisis is over, you go back. Even a diabetes patient, the day he is told his sugar is a little better, he'd like to eat something nice and then get stoned back again. So, you know, the desire, the other side is deprivation, right? There are two sides of the same coin. Some people say, oh, I desire this, and it could come from deprivation. It could also come from once tasting it and keeping to it. It's like how you bring up a child. My children don't, suppose somebody says, my children don't know sugar because I don't give them. Wow, great. But if they start eating something sugar somewhere else and they get a little bit of taste, you got to also monitor that behavior. And after some time, of course, there are some families which eat very less sugar. There are very few families which eat less salt and everything else. So it's how you bring them up. So I think West also wants to bring us up. Bring us up as I don't know whether it's like puppy dogs or puppy cats. I don't know what they want to do, but they certainly tried through the good bits of vaccine shortages, punishing us, not releasing all the vaccines and hoarding it amongst themselves. And yeah, things like that, you know, making us victims either for a Russian vaccine or a Pakistani vaccine or, you know, Chinese vaccine, whatever it is, and frightening us. Fear is a great industry, a lovable industry. And that became the main reason why we all indulge in our own self-torture and trauma. So give up fear and say, yes, what's going to happen? COVID-19 again, COVID-21. Yeah, some people will die. And why me? Is that usual question? So don't ask that question anymore. So be prepared. That's what I said. The zootonic changes will continue to be. The labs will continue to release new ones because after all, you got to keep the pharmaceutical lobby up and running. If they don't run, they don't have businesses. we won't have health, because health today is not absence of disease. Health today is taking vitamins. Health today is taking vaccines. We don't have preventive pills. We have curative pills. Curative pills have side effects, and people are recognizing that there are side effects today. The same words, yeah, health words, doctors' words. I'm using it in social dynamics, and let's hope on a good note as far as welfare is concerned. Let's spread the message of welfare, and let's spread the message of welfare in such a way that hey, we take care of ourselves, we take care of our neighbors, we have a right attitude, and we expect change. And that is only possible. We have also to be part of the same change that we are talking about. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
We also can go with one more question.
Sure.
Minutes more. Maybe I have a question from the beginning. We are asked that.
Sure.
Professor. So, Professor, but I felt that after with the COVID-19 situation, now we can see another industrial revolution, especially with the ICT sector. But with my recent studies, what I felt that there's a lack of connection in between those industries and the profession of social work, especially in Sri Lanka, because I presented a paper yesterday at the Industrial Collaboration Conference, and they had no idea what social workers can do with them. And they have been asking, they have asked me like, what you can do with us?
Wonderful.
Actually, yeah, what we can do with them, what
Exactly.
is our role when it comes to that sector. That's
I'm
something
very
we don't talk much.
I'm very pleased that you are working in that sector. That's exactly what needs to be done. Many people don't know. Sometimes we also don't know. So what we need to know is that in order to understand them, we need to go there, gang up, understand them, and then try to apply to ourselves and then teach them. Otherwise, they'll teach you what they can teach you. They will tell you chat GTP, artificial intelligence, and our students will write better books than Shamini and myself or anybody else for the last several years. I stopped writing. I still have got 2 or 3 books to write. They'll just nicely copy and bring it down. Their language, spoken language will be zero, but the written language will be fantastic. Where is this world going to? What is that piece of paper worth at the end of the day? My job as a teacher is not to catch somebody and punish him. My job as a teacher is to enable him, even if he is a punishable creature. Not enable punishment, but to enable him to realize that there is a better way. In order to do that, I need to understand. I can't get out of it. So therefore, Nayantara, you are a young person. You have the ability. Take it as a challenge. ICT and social work is not just presentation of one paper. Go and kill it. You need a mentor? I'm here. What do I mentor? I don't know ABCD, but I can still mentor you on the basis of what you are doing and then ask you the logical questions in order to build you up. That's all that can happen in the world. We don't need to know everything, but others who are trying to push you towards them, tell them back off. I haven't understood. Either you explain to me or I will explain to you, and do that. Wonderful.
Thank you, Professor.
No worries. Thank you.
If somebody has any questions, so we can give you the opportunity. We can wind up the session because we have been discussing near to 1 hour. Sorry.
Professor Wolke, you have any things you want to discuss with us?
Who, me?
There's the Kesavoti.
Oh, Keshav.
Yeah.
Oh, where is he? He's gone, is it? Is he there? Oh, plenty of students here. He must have gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, he must have gone away. Yeah.
All right, then we can wind up the session with that. Shamini madam, would that be okay?
That's
Yeah.
okay.
You can take a photograph of everybody, tell them all to come up and
Yeah,
show
yeah,
their
that's
faces.
really great. Yeah.
Open the video.
So tell them all to open their videos, and that'll be at least good so that we can see everyone. And I can see some of your colleagues that I know from a long time.
Yeah.
Okay, take your photograph and then be done with it.
1 more minute, please.
Others haven't opened their
Yeah.
photos yet.
Can see 2 windows, so we'll take this 2 windows.
Excellent.
All right, yes, done.
Thank you very much.
So before going to wind up the session, I would like to thank everyone for participating in this insightful discussion today. And I would like to extend my gratitude to Professor Venkat Rao Pulla and Ms. Shami Attanayake, the President of Sri Lanka Association of Professional Social Workers, for specially organizing this discussion. We learned a lot, madam. Thank you so much. And also thank you, Mr. Amarvansa Ranavir, the former president of the association, and special thanks go to National Institute of Social Development, as well as all international and local participants for their valuable contribution to today. And we extend our best wishes to all of you for your future endeavors in the field of social work, the social work practices, and may you continue to make meaningful contributions to the society and inspire the positive change. And thank you so much and have a good day.